Welcome to the first episode of a new series of videos called Outta Bounds, where the aim of the show is to take glitches, tricks and cheats from all kind of games and use them to get places and do things we're not meant to. As this is the first episode, this is going to be uploaded in two places, so if you're watching this on Darbus, hey, and if you're watching this on Outta Bounds,
hello there.
So to kick the show off, we're going to be looking at one of my childhood favourite games, Ape Escape. For this episode, we're going to be using a glitch called the slingback shooter glitch. To do this glitch, the first and only item you will need is a slingback shooter, which is given to you after beating Dark Ruins. Now we have this, all we have to do is pull on the right analog stick and jump at the same time. Repeat this over and over for flying pleasure. Timing is pretty important when it comes to performing this glitch. Do it too early and Spike pulls the slingshot back fully. Do it too late and you begin falling. And if you want to do this glitch, then I'd strongly recommend equipping either the stun club or the skyflyer to cushion the fall. So now we've got that out of the way, let's get on to exploring. I guess the first logical place to explore would be the first area you get to use the slingback shooter. The interesting thing about the tutorial area is that the ceiling looks like you wouldn't be able to pass through. However, if we do the glitch, we can see that there is in fact no collision on the ceiling at all. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot we can do out here, and because of the use of culling and fog, we can't see very far. And this is something that you're going to see a lot of in this video. So instead of trying to see what lied beyond the walls, I decided to see if it was possible to die in a training area. And surprisingly enough, no. No, you cannot. And trust me, I tried. The first thing we're going to be looking at is skyboxes. It does sound boring, I know, but trust me on this. If you're getting into game design, then some of the techniques used in Ape Escape might be interesting to you. Now because each outside area is relatively small, Ape Escape tends to have really small skyboxes to accommodate. This means that using the slingback shooter glitch can very quickly take us to the outside of the skybox, which gives us a very good idea of what the skyboxes look like in full. If we look closely, we can notice a few things about how the skyboxes are constructed. Firstly, everything that's animated is placed on a separate layer. This includes the lightning in Dinosaur Valley, the clouds in Ancient Plains, and even the shooting stars in Cryptic Relics. Even things that aren't animated can also be found on a separate layer to the skybox, such as these rainbows in Jungle River. Something we can get a really good look at with the slingback shooter glitch is how certain skyboxes use transparency. If we enter a stage set at night, such as the TV tower or Spectreland, and glitch our way to the higher point of the skybox, we can begin to see the colours behind the skybox start to come through. In fact, in any area with a skybox, travelling beyond the skybox will show either one or two solid colours. This next thing can be done just by normally looking around, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless. The skyboxes in Ape Escape come in three different shapes. The first, and most commonly used, is the sphere. These are mostly used on stages that appear to be suspended in the sky. The next one is the dome. These ones are mostly used for stages that are located either close to the ground or on the side of a mountain. And the final one is the cylinder. These are only used a few times, but the main reason they are used is to keep trees on a texture straight instead of curving overhead. And who said shapes aren't interesting? With a glitch as powerful as the slingback shooter glitch, there's bound to be some skips that we can use to get around levels faster. In fact, because of the amount of skips we can use, I'm only going to be covering a few of the more useful ones. And seeing as we're given the slingback shooter before Cryptic Relics, why don't we see what we can do with it before we're given the skyflyer? And as luck would have it, we don't need to look much further than Cryptic Relics, as there's a couple of monkeys that we could capture early. If we walk past these spinning things and go through this door, then walk through the door with the monkey outside, in the next room, we can glitch ourselves on top of this pillar which would normally need to be destroyed. After getting that monkey, climb up the pole and enter the green room with the monkey in the corner. If we glitch ourselves up and over, we can capture this monkey early too. The next place we're going to is Primitive Ocean. If you're good at using the dash hoop along with the slingback shooter, then I hope you find this easier than I did. On this level there's 4 monkeys we can very easily catch by glitching. The first monkey is directly in front of you when you spawn. All you have to do is float over to the platform, land, and catch it with the time net. The next 2 monkeys are directly across the map from the first. So, just like before, float your way over the water and catch them. But be quick about it though, because one of them likes to jump off if you're spotted. The final monkey can be found by entering this cave and getting your way to the top of the picture with the monkeys in the flying saucers. Just capture him and be on your way. Now let's fast forward a few stages. Because we're later in the game, walls and gaps are much larger than they were earlier. But don't fret, dear viewer, we can still glitch our way around just like before. If we enter Spectre's factory and go through the door directly behind this platform, turning to the left greets us with a large fence blocking the way. Luckily for us, there's no collision placed above, which means we can glitch our way up and over to catch the monkey in the green shorts. The final skip I'm going to show you is by far the most useful skip in the game. To do this skip, the first thing we'll need to do is enter Spectreland and capture enough monkeys for us to enter the flying castle. Once we're in, we're going to want to take the door on the right. Turn the corner, then place yourself in this location. Now we're going to want to glitch straight up without moving until you hit a scene transition. On the other side, you'll find yourself in the room used for the robot Spectre fight. By doing this skip, you're skipping past a long walk around the castle to push a button, which opens a painting that takes you to the same room. A piece of advice I want to give is to only do it if it's your first time playing the stage. Entering this room any time after beating Spectre soft locks the game, meaning that you have to leave and re-enter the stage because you can't leave the room. After exploring each level of Ape Escape for several hours, it's surprising how clean everything is outside of the game's boundaries. However, that doesn't mean I wasn't able to find anything. Starting with some less interesting stuff, have you ever wondered if it was possible to get onto these platforms in Ancient Plains? Well, we can, but we can't. By using the slingback shooter glitch, we can get our way up there, although we're unable to interact with the ground or the trees, because the large box collider is keeping us just above the height of the trees. Remember this waterfall in Dinosaur Valley? Well, if we make our way to the top of it, we can find that there's a piece of plane coloured blue to signify that a river belongs there. The interesting thing about this is that the river goes around a corner before reaching the waterfall. The developers could have simply drawn a straight line, seeing as a player would never be able to see this normally. Actually, we can find something very similar to this in Spectreland just before entering the teleporter. When entering the area, glitch your way over either side of these trees. What you'll find on the other side is a large area of nothing but grass that circles around the crater. Oh, and while we're here, if you ever wondered what the rest of the go-kart track looked like, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it doesn't exist. Speaking of disappointments, it turns out that Dexter the dinosaur really doesn't have anything other than a head and two paws. But at least we get to see what the underside of this turtle looks like. Throughout the game, you'll come across these trees that come alive if a monkey jumps inside. When they do, some branches come out of the ground like arms and begin attacking Spike. If we get into a position where we can see under the ground, we can see that the branches are already there, waiting to come out. I'm not entirely sure why these next two things exist, but maybe you guys could give a theory down in the comments. For the first thing, we need to go to Icicle Cave and enter the area with the giant snowballs. By looking into the pit, we can see that there's a small white rectangle hiding under the floor. I couldn't find a closer way to look at it, so this was the best I could do. For the second thing, go to Spectre's factory and enter this room with the giant pipes. If we jump over this wall and follow it around the corner, around the back we can find one of the turny things that are used to open doors. Usually either the stun club or the dash hoop can be used to activate these. However, the odd thing about this one in particular is that there's no way to turn it at all. I mean, it doesn't even have proper collision. I think everyone remembers the room on the Great Wall with the three monkeys running into the gong. One thing I always wondered when I was younger was, what happens to the monkeys when they jump into these holes? Well, now I know. Each time a monkey enters a hole, their models disappear, but as an entity they still exist, as we can see from the smoke trails. In Monkey Hot Springs at the top of the mountain, if we enter the spring and jump over this wall, we can see what could possibly be a removed entrance to another part of the stage. However, where this does look like a possible entranceway, there's nothing to signify that this might have been used for something else. But if it was meant to be used for another part of the stage, I wonder where it would have gone to. Here's some cars. Okay, I guess you probably would have figured that, but what you couldn't tell by looking at them is that it's possible to interact with them. By glitching high enough, we can get over an invisible wall and land safely on the road, which surprisingly has collision. Well, for the most part anyway. If we stand in front of the blue car, then not a whole lot happens. But if we stand in front of the orange car, well, it's a bit less dramatic actually. Finally, I have left what I think to be the best for last. As I mentioned at the start of the video, because of the use of culling and fog, we can't see very far, which is a perfect opportunity for developers to hide things where we wouldn't normally be able to see them. In several stages in certain areas, if we glitch high enough and exit the skybox, we can find dummy scenes that are only used for cutscenes. This was a very clever technique used when making older games. It allowed the game to show multiple different scenes in one cutscene without needing to load a new area. I'm not sure if I've missed any, but I was as thorough as I could be. If I have missed some, then please, feel free to mention them in the comments. The first scene I want to show is Inspector's factory. If we glitch up anywhere in the first area, then eventually we'll come across the dummy of the next room, but without the large platform in the center. Because in the cutscene we're only able to see the monkey door open, only half of the room is rendered. And because we're not supposed to be here, the scene doesn't have any collision. The next place I want to show is Inspector Land. To find this scene, we're going to want to stand in front of this button and glitch straight up. After a while, we'll end up back in the first room of the castle, minus the enemies and some smaller details. Just like before, we're only supposed to see this wall, so understandably not all of the room is rendered. Finally, the last stage we need to go to is Crumbling Castle. Work your way through the stage like normal until you reach a room with a button that's used to open a door on the roof. Stand somewhere close to this wall and glitch up until you're past the collision on the ceiling. Now keep glitching your way up until you see a tiny skybox encasing a scene of the outside of the castle. The really weird thing about this specific scene is that if we come over to this battlement, we can land inside of it and walk around for a bit. The journey doesn't end there, my friends, because if we keep travelling beyond the scene of the castle, we can find the other scene used for the same cutscene. This time it's of the small room with the pillar in the centre. Unfortunately, unlike the previous scene, there's nothing we can stand on, which means we'll fall back through. A small touch I want to point out is that these scenes are stacked in the same order you see them in the cutscene. It's a very minute detail, but I thought it was pretty cool. So that was everything I was able to find on Ape Escape. Hopefully you guys found it as interesting as I did when I was finding this stuff. If there were some things that I didn't cover in this video, then it's probably because I wasn't either able to find it, or I didn't think it was interesting enough for the episode. That being said, thank you very much for watching this first episode of Outta Bounds. If there's anything you want me to improve on in the future, then feel free to give me suggestions below. Welcome, people of Darbus, and hey, you just watched the first episode of Outta Bounds. How's about we move on to something called The End Slate? So chances are, if you have watched my channel before, then you already know of this video. On the right, we are going to have a video called Empty Man's Sky. It's a first-person video based on No Man's Sky. It's pretty good. If you like monologue sort of things, if you like open letter sort of things, hey, go check it out. Might be something for you. Never know. It could have a cream tart. Plot twist, doesn't have a cream tart. If you want to feel inclined to, then you can by all means go and watch. I had to think about that. The outtakes for this video. The outtakes are going to be on the left. If you want to watch those, then by all means, please do. There are some moments in there, but it's mostly just me rambling and complaining about tea. There's some stuff there if you want to check it out. In the center, what's that little dude doing there in a circle? Well, my friends, that is the new channel that I've made specifically for this series. It's called Outta Bounds. Fun name, I know. Watch big channel, right about. You better go. Well, my dear viewer, I'm actually going to save that for another video, and I'm going to talk more about Outta Bounds there. That channel is going to have every single video of Outta Bounds that's going to be uploaded in the future. So if you want to, then by all means go and look at Outta Bounds if you want more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and have a safe journey home. There's some bad people on the roads at night. Might want to steer clear from them. Just a word of warning.